Every so often in history, a moment comes along that just draws a line in the sand. There's the world before and the world after. The Industrial Revolution, that was one of them. An age of steam and factories and railroads that completely rewrote the rules for how we live and work. Well, guess what? We're standing at another one of those moments right now. We're moving from steam to silicon. Let's break down what that really means. And let's be crystal clear. This isn't some far-off science fiction future we're talking about. This is happening right here, right now. It's already reshaping everything, from the way we talk to each other to the way huge decisions get made. The revolution is here, and honestly, it's moving at a speed that's unlike anything we have ever seen before. The parallels are just wild. Back then, steam power and giant factories were the engines of change. Today, it's artificial intelligence running in massive data centers all connected by the cloud. They're the new railroads and the new factories. They are the absolute core infrastructure of our modern world. So the big question is, how can looking back help us get a handle on what's coming our way? To figure that out, we're going to tackle this in 5 key parts. First, we'll dig into that historical comparison. Then we'll follow the money in what is a legit AI gold rush. We'll look at how it's popping up in our day-to-day lives. Then we'll get real about the growing concerns. And finally, we'll see if the past can give us a roadmap for the future. Okay, so the first industrial revolution was all about muscle, right? For the very first time, machines could do the heavy lifting. This new revolution, though, this one is about our minds. It's augmenting and, yeah, in some cases, replacing cognitive work. Where machines once took over physical jobs, AI is now starting to take on analysis and even decision-making. The clearest sign that you're in the middle of a revolution is just the sheer amount of money being thrown at it. And right now, oh boy, are we in the middle of a massive AI gold rush. The numbers are absolutely staggering, and they tell a story of a huge global bet being placed on this technology. Get this, in 2024 alone, corporate investment in AI shot up to a mind-blowing $252.3 billion. Just to put that into perspective, that is a 13-fold increase since 2014. This isn't just some trend, folks. This is a tectonic shift in the entire global economy. And a massive chunk of that global pie, well, it belongs to private investment right here in the United States, topping over $109 billion just last year. That kind of concentrated cash is what's fueling development at just a breakneck speed. Now, this is where the investment story paints a really fascinating geopolitical picture. The U.S. is currently pouring nearly 12 times more money into private AI than China. That gap just goes to show you how intense the global race for dominance in this new era has become. So, where's all this money going? Well, it's getting real results. In 2024, private companies, not universities, not governments, produced almost 90% of all the big, impactful new AI models. That is a huge jump from the year before, when it was more like 60%. It shows you just how fast the private sector has grabbed the reins here. But here's the twist. While the US is cranking out more models in terms of pure numbers, China is catching up on quality at an incredible pace. A year ago, there was a pretty big performance gap on key tests. Today, that gap has pretty much vanished. The race is getting tighter by the day. Okay, so all this money and all this development, it's not just happening in some secret lab somewhere. It's hitting the streets fast. AI is not a futuristic idea anymore. It's a real tool that millions of us are starting to use every single day. And this is a perfect example of how personal it's getting. AI is already living in your inbox, summarizing those ridiculously long email chains. It's analyzing your spending to help you split a bill with friends. It's becoming this invisible assistant just woven into the fabric of our digital lives. And this adoption is just exploding, especially in really critical fields like medicine. In 2023, the FDA gave the green light to 223 new AI-powered medical devices. We're talking about tools that help doctors spot diseases faster and more accurately. Now, that number might sound high, but to really get the speed of this, you have to see where we were just a little while ago. In 2015, the number of approvals was just 6. From 6 to over 200 in less than a decade. That's not just growth, that's a vertical climb. It shows how fast AI is becoming absolutely essential, even in the highest stakes industries. So what's pouring fuel on this fire? Why is all this happening so incredibly fast? Well, a huge part of it comes down to one simple thing: cost. The price to actually use a powerful AI model, what the pros call inference cost, has totally cratered. A task that might have cost you $20 a couple of years ago now costs just pennies. That makes this powerful tech accessible to basically everyone. Of course, just like the Industrial Revolution, this kind of rapid, disruptive change, it's not all sunshine and roses. With this much power comes a lot of concern, and we're seeing this global conversation bubble up about the risks and what the rules of the road for AI should be. And public opinion is all over the map, depending on where you live. In places like China and Indonesia, you've got over 80% of people feeling optimistic about AI. But in the US and parts of Europe, that number plummets to less than 40%. It points to this huge cultural divide and how we're all seeing this revolution unfold. And these aren't just vague fears from the public. They are very real business risks. The companies on the front lines, the ones actually using AI, are most worried about models just getting things wrong, about breaking new rules they can barely keep up with, and of course, about opening up new vulnerabilities to cyber attacks. And these risks, they're not theoretical. They are really happening. The number of publicly reported AI screw-ups, we're talking everything from deepfakes to major system failures, jumped by more than 56% in just the last year. The problems are growing just as fast as the tech is. Which brings us right back to where we started. You know the saying, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes? So what lessons can the Industrial Revolution offer us for steering this new age in the right direction? How do we adapt to all this? Well, history seems to be pointing down a familiar path. First up, a massive reskilling of the workforce is coming, just like when farm workers had to learn how to operate factory machines. Second, we're going to need new social contracts to figure out thorny issues like data ownership and algorithmic bias. And finally, we're looking at a brand new frontier of rules and ethics. We got labor laws from the factory age. Now we need a clear rule book for how AI works in our society. So this is really the core question, isn't it? The last great technological revolution gave us the 9-to-5 workday, the weekend, structures that still define our lives. Now it's our turn. The choices we make today, what we decide to build, what we decide to regulate, and what we decide is important, those choices are going to define the world for generations to come. The AI revolution is here, and the rulebook is just waiting for us to write it.